Welcome everybody once again to the Duopoly Report. I'm Steve Cavieres, and I've been away for a while, and I'm glad to be back making videos, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of me in the near future. Just to let you know, I've got many things stacked up that videos are going to come out shortly. I've been working a lot on the back end with my channel so that there's more ways that my followers can help spread the word and also help sustain the channel and also help interact with the channel. Today, I've been watching something that's going on the last week. There's been several, oh my God, there's been several things. But there's one thing in particular that caught my attention in the way that maybe only I in the Duopoly Report would catch. It has to do with a series of interactions between a young progressive Congress people, Congresswomen, but there's a congressman too. This new group of folks that are doing a great job at pushing the people's agenda forward and then getting slammed for it. And the latest happened over just the last couple of days. The House Oversight Committee hearing on the family separation and in the detention centers happened on Capitol Hill. And here we have a picture of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley, all three congresswomen who went down to Texas to visit some of the detention centers and reported back some horrific conditions, especially with children in their own pens, just unattended, dirty, just in so much despair and hopelessness, uncleanliness, and things that are going on that could be prevented, or even, really, we shouldn't have this situation at all with these basically concentration camps that have been sprung up along the southern border of our state, of our country. And so they were reporting on just how terrible everything was and how unhappy they were about it. And that was to be expected. We had heard even on the day that they had made some of these visits about some of the things they were experiencing, but they came to the House Oversight Committee to officially report their findings. Representative Tlaib especially had a heart-wrenching testimony about what she saw. There were not only these Congress people, but there was a series of lawyers who were part of, I can't remember which federal agency, but they were charged with actually doing the job of doing checkups and everything. And they had equally heart-wrenching stories about what's going on there. But this story isn't really about the detention centers / concentration camps per se. I actually do want to do a video about that because we have a local angle to that here in New Mexico. But this time, it's more about the reaction. And what happened is there was a reaction. Mr. 45, President Donald J. Trump, decided to tweet out about it, as he is wont to do. And he's like, so interesting to see progressive Democratic congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe. The worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world, even if they have a functioning government at all. Now, loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States that the great and most powerful nation on earth, how our government's to be run. And why don't they go back and help to fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came, then come back and show us how it is done. These places need your help badly, and you can't leave fast enough. I'm sure Nancy Pelosi would be very happy to make quick work out of your free travel arrangements. So this is this is a bad tweet from President Trump. And I mean, basically, it's the part where he says, why don't you go back and help the broken and crime-infested places from which you came? And I think that part of that reaction is you know, he's had it out for Ilhan Omar for the longest time, and Representative Omar is a naturalized citizen to the United States, so she was not born here originally, but Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Pressley, they all were natural born. They were born here in this country, so they are from here. Why don't you go back to where you came from? Well, they came from America, the United States of America. So it's a very inaccurate tweet. It's also a very rude tweet, and it sort of like reaffirms kind of his idea that if you're not white looking, then obviously you're not from here, or you don't belong here. And it's a pretty disgusting tweet. But have we come to expect anything less from number 45 here? No. I mean, but this is the kind of shit we see from this Republican president, and it's not a surprise. Like I usually talk about on this show, I don't talk a lot about Republicans and how lousy they are, because that's not news. The Republicans many times are lousy. This particular Republican tends to, you know, want to amp the level of lousy. But why did he do this? And I think in some ways there's a little show-upsmanship. Well, he makes out this ridiculous tweet, and in comes Representative Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. And of course she was named in his tweets, so I'm sure that that's also why there was a response. And she says, when the real Donald Trump tells 4 American congresswomen to go back to their countries, he reaffirms his plan to make America great again. Has always been about making America white again, like I was saying just a second ago. Our diversity is our strength, and our unity is our power. So she went on to say, I reject Donald Trump's xenophobic comments meant to divide our nation rather than attack members of Congress. He should work with us for humane immigration policy that reflects American values. Stop the raids. Hashtag families belong together. So here is Pelosi kind of coming in and saying, you know, don't attack these congresswomen. Those were xenophobic comments. I agree. And that we should all try to work together. But there's, even in this response from Nancy Pelosi, I see some very interesting things going on. She did say stop the raids. I think that's good. And then hashtag families belong together. Now, this is an interesting hashtag that I've not really seen too much, because really, when I read this hashtag, although I believe that asylum seekers who come as families shouldn't be separated and have the kids separated away from the adults that are taking care of them. And so that concept of families being together is good. This doesn't really represent what needs to be done, which is we need to just close these camps. We shouldn't be having these detention concentration camps at all. Asylum seekers are not illegal. It is legal to seek asylum in our country, and it is legal to stay in our country while you're waiting for all that process to happen. So, you know, once again, I think Nancy Pelosi tends to take a point that is kind of weak, and I don't think very appropriate, because if they're still together in those concentration camps, then there are private corporations making money off of all of this misery. There's and that's not okay. And there's families being tortured for no good reason. This does not have to happen. And here's the part that I kind of resent. I know that this is tweeting out because it's a direct response to being called out, but in a lot of ways, you don't have a lot of legs to stand on some of this, because not a few days before, there was an article and it was all over the news. You're like, do not tweet. Pelosi scolds progressives in a closed door meeting. And this article is here from the Politico. This was last Wednesday, so just a couple days before this Donald Trump tweet stuff blew up. And I'm going to read just a little bit from this. Speaker Nancy Pelosi chided progressives in a closed-door meeting Wednesday, calling them to address their inter-party grievances privately rather than blasting their centrist colleagues on Twitter. Pelosi's comments, which were described as stern, came from the first full caucus meeting since a major blowup over emergency border funding last month between progressive and moderate lawmakers, as well as a recent spat with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her freshman allies. Quote, "So again, you got a complaint? You come and talk to me about it," Pelosi told Democrats, according to a source in the room. "But do not tweet about our members and expect us to think that that is just okay." You know, I actually think that when they tweet out criticisms of their colleagues, that they know that their colleagues are not going to think that that's okay. That, you know, they're not blind to that fact. Criticism is usually not well received by the target of the criticism. And many times the target of the criticism is you yourself, Speaker Pelosi, because you're driving bad policy. And these courageous new freshman congresspeople are bringing up the standard of the people and what we really want in this government. So you were throwing these four under the bus not too long ago, and there was a giant battle over this this bill that came over from the Senate, where Schumer had caved into McConnell, $4.3 billion in spending, some of it for providing more services and furniture and things for these concentration camps, others for some more wall reinforcement and other things like that. There was a lot of argument about whether this would be proper to vote on. And I think if you want to close the cages, you need to not be spending more money on them. We do not need kinder, gentler concentration camps. We just need none at all. None. Hashtag close the camps, close the cages. So part of that spills over here in the next part, the second paragraph here, where it says Democrats in the room say they interpreted that remark in part as a shot at Representative Mark Pocan of Wisconsin and co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, who called moderate Democrats members of the Child Abuse Caucus in a tweet over their support for the Senate version of the emergency humanitarian package. And that's the point that I was just making, which is that, you know, you spend some money, and some people are trying to say that it's, you know, so that things can be better, but they're not. Better than a hellhole is still probably worse than a jail, and that's not what these people deserve. So it's rightful that members of the Progressive Caucus and especially these newer, bolder, more excellent congresspeople are speaking up about this. And sometimes there are times where you got to say it. You've got to ruffle feathers. This is definitely one of these cases. This is a humanitarian crisis that we're creating. You know, we blow up the countries in Central America, refugees come streaming out of them, and then we torture these refugees when they get here. It's insanity. And so allowing for extra spending for that to continue is insanity as well. So this is my quick take, and here's sort of the whole Republican, Democrat, and donkey fat dynamic at heart here. Trump's saying, pack up, but Pelosi's saying, shut up. And still, these courageous congresswomen persisted. Hashtag no war with Iran. Hashtag close the camps. Hashtag Medicare for all. And they're not stopping talking. They're not stopping their tweets. I don't think they agreed to do any kind of, toning down on this thing. And nor should they. And nor should you. When it comes to these critical issues, you've got to stand up for what's right, even when it means telling someone in your own party, especially leadership, that's out of date, out of touch, and corporately owned. Like, we just can't do that anymore. Don't do it. be with these folks, these 3, 4, and there's actually more. Pelosi, even in April, in a 60 Minutes interview, said, oh, well, there are only like 4 people. That's bull. There have been progressives in the Congress for a long time, and it was more than 4 people. It's just that they, I guess, behaved more. These women are out to set history, because women who behave seldom make history. These are history-making people on the right side of this graphic. I'm proud to stand with Ilhan. I'm proud to be with AOC. I'm proud to say that Rashida Tlaib is excellent. And I hope you do too. Hey, this has been the Duopoly Report with Steve Kavietis. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, and the notification bell right next to it. Links to the stories that I just talked about will be down below. Also a link to my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Duopoly Report, where you can become a monthly subscriber and get some bonuses. Anyone who does my $20 a month level gets to make me do a story on a certain topic once a year, and I'll be happy to work with you guys on that. There's more to come. I'm really excited about the near future. Have a good day.